Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I am so excited to welcome to the show Kelly Donahue-Piro. She is a ridiculously amazing insurance agency advisor and has agency appeal as well, correct? Both things going on.
Yes.
So I'm excited to catch up with Kelly today. We've gotten to talk a few times. Our paths cross more frequently now, which is amazing.
Hey, cool.
Yes. So we get to see a whole bunch more of each other than we have in the past, but we've been part of each other's lives socially for quite a while. And then last year did our first shot together in New Orleans. I don't even remember what kind it was.
Nashville this year?
Yes. Are you going to be there?
We'll be at Elevate in Nashville.
Yes, we will be. So if you haven't gotten your ticket for Elevate yet, you should, because Kelly and I are going to be there.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want to hang out with us for a few days?
Yes. Are you game for line dancing?
First of all, ticket sales just sold out just by this podcast.
Yes, sorry guys, there's no more room.
There's no more room.
No more
room.
Yeah.
Move over all the country stars. Kelly and Olivia will be in Nashville. It's over.
Yes. So there will be karaoke. There will be line dancing. I don't know where to go and do all of these things, but I assume there's some place in Nashville that can accommodate all of these crazy things I'm going to come up with.
Yeah, I've been to Nashville a couple times. Let me ask you this. What is your karaoke go-to song?
Okay, so here's the deal. I haven't done karaoke in 16 years. The last time I went karaokeing, so my in-laws are very serious about karaoke. Like they're weekenders. They get there early so they can write their songs. Yeah. And I went with them one night. And then the next day, my father-in-law was like, yeah, you shouldn't do that anymore. You're not very good.
Oh.
And I was like, is that the point? So I've been a little skittish, but I will have you know it is on my bucket list for 2020. So it's happening. I'm just playing with a few songs.
Okay.
I may have chosen something too big. But yeah, do you have a go-to for karaoke?
I would stay away from Whitney Houston.
Okay.
No. Back person.
I was totally going to belt that out.
I do. It's Sweet Caroline. Yeah, I mean, I always win with Sweet Caroline because it's like the crowd pleaser.
Yes.
There's no actual singing required.
Yeah. Everybody takes over for you.
I actually won a cruise in my 20s singing Sweet Caroline in karaoke. Yeah.
Wow.
So that would be my go-to.
The stakes are high, Kelly.
The stakes are very high. And also, this is the great social media content if we were caught singing karaoke in Nashville.
I feel like we have no choice but to make this happen now.
I feel like it's going to be a challenge, and we need a GoPro.
Yeah. Hey, we can make anything happen.
That's right.
We put our minds together, Kelly. I think we've got this in the bag. No problem.
Well, I'm really excited about your new podcast. I think this is so you've got the new podcast. You Don't Know Schmidt.
Yes.
And what's the premise of the podcast? Like, what's the goal? What are we doing here?
So my goal, and I love that, I feel like this coincides perfectly with your most recent episode, is just highlighting women, especially those in the insurance industry that I've connected with, or, maybe there's a couple of degrees of separation between me and another person right now. But, once you know one person, they're always very generous about giving you another name of somebody that you absolutely have to know, another woman in the industry that's helped lift them up throughout their career. And so I look forward to seeing how it all, just like all of us, end up being really connected through this, but highlighting their stories and talking about their journeys and, what would they maybe do differently in their careers, or how did they start building their dream career? Like all of that stuff that goes into just living your best life. Because I think that
like insurance Oprah.
Oh, thank you.
That's what you're like, insurance Oprah. This is exciting.
Yeah. So it's like we all have unique journeys, right? But I feel like there's always going to be that nugget of wisdom in what somebody else has gone through that's going to help somebody else. And as long as it connects and somebody goes, oh my gosh, like I feel like you're telling my story. Like that's a pretty special thing to have happen. And I don't know how many episodes it takes for that to happen. But also I feel like I get so much like wisdom from other women that have become part of my life, and only because I'm in insurance.
Right.
So
right.
I feel very fortunate to share this industry and this space with so many just extremely intelligent and driven women. And that, it's just, I love it. I love just the story, the journey, understanding like the obstacles that we have to overcome.
Sure.
And just kind of helping to propel everybody forward. So
love it. I think it's going to be a great podcast. I will be a long-term listener.
Yay.
I'll be an inaugural subscriber.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. So it's so exciting. I love it. And you just did your episode on women in insurance and the real things that we face, and growing up as a kid, having a mom that was a career woman, which I think you and I are about the same age.
Yeah, I don't ever tell my age, but I'll give you a ballpark.
Yeah.
I haven't hit the 4 digits yet.
Okay.
But I'm over the 35 mark.
Okay. We're somewhere in this.
There's a range.
Yes. We're in the same age range. Like if we're checking the same radial button on a survey. So like, I feel like when we were growing up, there weren't near as many women in the workforce. And now it's still kind of the same way. I think I still know a lot of moms that stay home, and I totally like understand that, but I've always wanted a career, and insurance happened to be where I landed. But I felt like your episode just gave great insight into owning the power of what you do, because we do minimize. And I don't know why do you think that women have a tendency to minimize the importance of their role?
I think some of it's generational. And I think, you've managed obviously big teams in your past life of insurance professionals. And for a lot of them, they started off as an agent's assistant. And then one day they got this book of business. Like the world happened. That was not their intention. They were going to go do admin work. And, now they're taking rate complaint phone calls. But I also think that it's something you have to retrain yourself out of. Like, one of the things we preach to a lot of like emerging female leaders is stop apologizing.
Yeah.
Like even if you screwed it up, don't apologize.
Yeah.
Just don't apologize, because you come off sounding, I'm sorry. If I screw something up, I just say, hey, it's fixed. Here you go. Have a nice day. But I also think it's identifying like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Like I still don't totally know what I want to be when I grow up.
I'm with you there.
I think like lottery ticket winner sounds great.
Some days wouldn't that be great? But eventually you'd miss the work, right?
I would do insurance Shark Tank.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. We're gonna have to get into that. I want to know more.
There's no doubt in my mind. Like, and I'd probably even like model the Shark Tank studio just for fun. Have it come in and do insurance Shark Tank. But I don't know. I think for so many women, it's like they're just, as opposed to like everything serving them, they're serving so many other people. Yeah. And like the idea, and it's so hard for me because I don't have kids and that's not something that we're going to do. So it's like, I always look at it like, hey, my mom was a school teacher. She had the best of both worlds, but I knew how to iron a shirt at 9, like there was like dinner. I knew how to cook dinner. Like she figured out how to get like her kids to be a little army.
Yeah. She raised self-sufficient children. Yeah.
I was reading this book this morning, and it said, you're not raising kids, you're raising people to become adults. And I was like, that's a powerful statement. But
it is.
I don't know. I think for women in the workforce, it's especially in this insurance space where most of them are account managers, CSRs, whatever name you want to call them. And I would even fight that, right, Olivia? Mm-hmm. Like CSR, customer service rep. Could be the same thing, but you say you're an account manager, you're managing that relationship versus I'm handling a payment. There's
Absolutely.
a difference to that.
There is, for sure.
And I think the one thing, and I'm curious of what you think about this, like I say this, so I have to really, it kind of flips out of my mouth. And every time I do, I want to like wash my mouth out with soap. It's the whole idea of like, well, the girls will handle that. Just like, who are the girls? Where are these?
Yeah. Where are they hanging out?
The boys will handle that.
Yep.
Like it's just gotten to the point where I think, we have to have a little bit more, I don't know. You have to realize you're managing probably $1 million of premium at a minimum in an agency if you're in an account manager role, and that's really valuable, but it's only as valuable as you'll treat it too.
Right. And I think that sometimes if you're not willing to own the magnitude of what it is that you do every day, you're not going to do as good of a job, right?
No.
Like there has to be that sense of value and importance in what you're doing every day, what you're bringing to the table, whether it's making sure that an agent is allowed to be super successful because you're there giving that support, or you're creating really great retention because you've built good client relationships. I don't even know why I'm choking. So yeah, we have to be willing to give ourselves a little more credit.
Yeah, you have to be able to give ourselves credit. And then you also have to think bigger than yourself. Like that was one of the things I learned in sales early on is, maybe I wouldn't be able to afford XYZ, for insurance, but that doesn't mean that other people don't deserve the option to do it. And so I think a lot of times everything kind of gets a little tripped up there of, oh, well, it's hard for me to talk about price because I'm price sensitive on these things, but that doesn't mean everybody is. And especially if you're a female doing any type of sales role, you have to be able to say, I'm worth more money. Like for you to do business with us, it's going to cost you more because we're worth it. And I'm going to show you what that value looks like by being the most outstanding at my position. I think Olivia has coronavirus.
Yeah, I don't know what happened just now, but clearly I need to be better hydrated.
I was going to call 911 soon.
Yeah, I was in a few airports, but you have been as well. So hopefully, are you wearing the mask yet? Total side question.
So my husband works in nursing homes. And I fly all the time. So I like joke that I'm like immune to like almost everything.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because, my husband being in nursing homes, like there's certain surgical masks you should be wearing in the case of this like coronavirus outbreak. And there's like people wearing like Home Depot, like contractor masks.
A desk mask.
He's like, that's not going to solve anything.
Like it's good enough. It's all I could find.
So it's like more power to you, but it's not going to stop Corona.
Yeah. 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 So I think that when it comes to the way that we talk, like we have to make a concerted effort about changing our language, because for one, we minimize with our language, and not only just minimizing, we don't empower with our language. Like I feel like we're creating a bigger gap if we don't change the way that we talk about things. I saw this information, I think in the Insurance Journal, about the pay scale between men and women. It was staggering. It was frightening.
But if I can play devil's advocate.
Yes, go for it, please.
So this is one of the challenges, and I'm going to tell us a quick story for a second. So pardon me, but like one of the things that I've found is, so I'll just lay it out. Like for most cases, women in insurance are in a service arena, right? There's some producers or some agency owners, but I'm just going to speak in mass generalization. And so every agency owner I work with, it's a requirement that they put in some kind of performance incentive plan. So if you want to work harder, you can make the equivalent of how hard you're working, right?
Right.
Whether that's retention or Google reviews, whatever it is. And so I remember this one woman, I was at her agency and she was an account manager, and she was like really bummed. I was like, what's the matter? She goes, I got to go home tonight and tell my kid he can't go to soccer camp. I go, why? He's like, oh, we can't afford it. And I just pulled out her incentive plan. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, why? Well, I'm not comfortable with sales. I was like, well, could you be? Because you're going to have an uncomfortable conversation with your son. Could you take the scripts? Could you take the coaching? Could you take it and run with it? And if I invest in you, could you work with your family to stay late and make additional phone calls? could you tell your son to have his homework ready when mom comes home because she's going to work an extra 90 minutes on making sales calls.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me, she's like, I didn't think of it that way. I'm like, and so it changed her whole family dynamic, and she was able to send them to soccer camp. But it was so amazing because she wasn't doing it for herself. And that's one of the biggest challenges that you see on the service level is, when you give them a bonus, they don't go buy new shoes with it. Like I was always like, I'm going to go buy a new handbag. But for most of them, it's okay. Well, we're going to pay the electricity bill. We're going to put it in the college savings account. Like it's never about that person. And I think that this role, especially in service, attracts the givers. It attracts people who like give so much away that at the end there's nothing left. And I want to flip that dynamic so badly and say, you're not selfish if you take 20% of your bonus and do something for you. And you know what, it's okay. Your family might learn a different dynamic if you have to work late to hit the soccer camp goal. But the other thing is you could also do it just during the workday by asking a whole ton. Yeah. And, it's getting that into a different rhythm with people so that they can see their financial goals, and you do realize that they're really empowered to do that.
So do you think that this type of mindset, like the generation coming in, is going to benefit from just having a different understanding of how they can develop in a career, as opposed to somebody that's been doing it for, 10 to 20 years and maybe hasn't thought about how they can gain more out of their career and not just always constantly be in service mode, which is a beautiful thing that you don't want to take away from, but how do we kind of change the thought process there?
I was actually thinking about this morning as I was going to the gym, and then I was taking a shower, and I was like, I don't know why something like this popped in my head, but I was like, the generation before was like the first version of working moms, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they were going to work and figuring it all out so that we could all have a better lifestyle. And that was great. And then like, I don't know, generationally, like, so then my generation comes and it was just, well, you're going to have a job. Like it wasn't a question mark really. Right. Like for some part of your life, you're going to go to work and you better pick something and you better go to college and you got to figure it out. I think that this next generation is going to be really interesting because I think they see us all stretched so thin. Yeah. I think that's what you're seeing with this next generation of I want flexibility, and it's like, we're all kind of like, hey, you didn't earn it. Yeah.
I remember feeling that way. Yep.
You want to go pet koala bears and give back and, that's great. But like, you got to work hard. And so that's where the rub's coming into play. But for me, I think the biggest thing you have to refine is this service and sales. Like there's producers and service people. And I just feel like that's putting us into buckets where today service people have the ability to influence and educate and let people know what kind of insurance that they have. And sales people have the ability to attract new people coming in and sell them the right way. And I really want to take those divisions up and say there's account management and there's new business. Yeah. But both of them are here to protect people. And if my life has changed in 5 years, whether it's my business or personal, somebody has to be on top of telling me I need different insurance, right. And so, we work really hard too to encourage agencies, not just look at cross-selling or, referrals, but also look at improving coverage. Like there's a big deal if you can get someone's auto up to the highest limits, and sometimes that's more than the umbrella cost. So when we only incentivize if you cross-sell something, we always strive also incentivize if they've improved coverage, because that can be a huge, huge step. And a lot of times we see that being more comfortable for somebody because it's not quoting it and sending the application. It's verbal over the phone. Let's take it and go.
Right. So do you feel like agencies are receptive to that message?
I do think that because they see the results, number one, but two, it's kind of like, well, why not? Like it's a win-win. People are better protected. We're adding on rental car reimbursement. We're fixing the stuff that happens. So I do see that, in commercial lines, especially like adding an endorsement for cyber can be a couple $1,000s. Yeah. So it's like, we just can't keep in those same traditional. Is it harder to track? Yeah, it is. But we just can't kind of keep in the same lanes as much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's different. We have to work differently. The insurance industry itself is different. So why wouldn't we start approaching it a little bit different? the workforce is different. So obviously we need to, change the way that we do things and talk about things. And so, yeah, it's kind of like we want to keep everything the same, even though everything externally has changed. We're like, no, we're really comfortable with this one thing, the way that we've been doing it. And yeah, it's funny.
I would even challenge that. I mean, we see this all the time. It's like, hey, half the team would be cool with that, half the team's not. And that's that sign of what you're talking about, where things are changing.
Yeah.
Like there's like the old guard and the newer guard. Well, like half of them are totally fine being in a picture on social media. The other half are totally not fine. So we tend to like run this gamut in between of, well, I don't want to make them mad. And so it's like, I feel as an agency owner, you're sort of walking this tightrope of,
yeah,
I know I want to go in this direction, but I care about all these different people. And I think that that's the puzzle piece that's getting harder and harder for agency owners to try to navigate.
Yeah, you're certainly trying to come up with something that feels comfortable or less uncomfortable to the majority of your staff. And I feel like the opinions out there are so diverse. Whereas when I came in, it was like, this is your job and you do it the way we tell you to do it. Now it's just a little bit different than that now.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, we work with some high profile agencies. We tend to work with a larger sized agency. And I don't mean like super large, but 10 employees plus is kind of our threshold. And so, like they hear things like, we don't take cash. Well, if you go into rural Maine and you've got 12 locations and, some of them are used to taking cash, it's not as easy as just flipping a light switch and saying,
right,
tearing off the cash tomorrow. And so it's like, a lot of times like they hear the newer new wave scratch agencies. It's like, yeah, you get this blank slate, but like they want to get there, these more developed agencies. And I think, you probably have some experience in this too, but like no one gives you that playbook of like, okay, well, how do we get there over 4 years?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, don't take cash tomorrow. And that's the response, because if you're a startup agency, you never dealt with it. But how do you get there over time and making it pleasant for everybody versus just, well, you're crazy, you don't take cash. I'm like, some are, but some, we just have to work on getting it decreased as opposed to just saying that they're crazy. They're not crazy. They have really well-established, very profitable businesses.
Exactly. And, there's certainly a customer experience factor to that. And it's so easy to be like black and white about it, but nothing that we do is really very black and white.
No, but phase 1 could be, we don't sell new business that way. Phase
right.
2 is an incentive program to get people on EFT, and that's the stuff where I think it's interesting because I feel like in the industry as a whole, it's very like fragmented too, between like the young guns who are doing awesome, incredible, like mind-blowing technology stuff. And then these, agencies that are established and, very, very, very successful, but they have to change, like they got to move a cruise ship, they're not just easy like a light switch.
Yeah. So as you're out and about in all of these agencies, so how many agencies are you working with right now?
We interviewed someone this morning and they asked me how many clients I've worked with in total. And I think it was 279 in 6 years.
Wow.
So active, we usually hover right around 50, but that's also like open speaking events that we've been booked on. Yeah. So it's somewhere like we've got 50 open projects basically right now.
Yeah. Wow. So do you see that there's more women going into production roles? Are you starting to see that number tick up?
So we see probably a little bit more on like female agency ownership.
Okay.
But I also think that role of the producer is rapidly changing.
Yeah.
In personal lines, the personal lines producer is really not what it used to be. It's much more of an inbound sales role. So we do see more and more females coming into that. The commercial side, I know some phenomenal producers that are, females, but I think that to me, it's still a hard balance, like to do that commercial role, you're giving up dinner with kids, you've got to really be committed. And most likely when you're making that jump is when you're having kids.
Yeah.
And so that can be really kind of challenging. But I'm excited to see so many female agency owners kind of come through. that gets me. And I feel like we have a niche in that, where I'm a female, they're a female. It just all sort of works itself out to work together.
Yeah. There is a lot of power in that. Obviously I believe that, or I wouldn't have started this podcast, but there's so much when we can just help each other out, bring each other along, reach back and, pull up that person that maybe has been struggling to figure out what career looks like for them. It's just, I'm glad to see it changing. I'm excited to see how it continues to advance. So did you always have like the entrepreneurial spirit?
No.
Nope.
No. I went to college and I was like, I'm going to go work for a company and I'm going to go work for this company. And then I was very lucky to get, be recruited and and then I had this experience where I worked for these two very entrepreneurial company, and I kind of opened my eyes to this very startup, like, go for it, go all in. And it was like, I would say it's like the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think if they can do it, I might be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then the life changed, and it was just sort of like, well, after you get a taste for the startup side, which now you're kind of on,
yeah,
you almost feel a little ruined. Like it's really hard to go back to this like corporate situation.
Yeah. I had felt like I was just not fitting in that environment anymore.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right place for me any longer. So yeah, I mean, I get it. This is a good bridge for me though. So yeah.
I mean, you asked Chris Parody. So we went to Travelers one day in Hartford, Connecticut, which isn't far from where I live. And like, there's like corporate name badges and like you had to sign in. Like I started breaking out in hives. I'm like, why do people work here?
I feel like this is not for me.
No offense if that's your jam, but
yes.
like it's just like everyone's wearing khakis. Like, ooh, I don't think I could do this long term.
Yeah, and some people, yeah, they thrive in that environment, and I think that's great. We need everybody. We need everybody in their place, right? And so, yeah, I think it just wasn't the right thing for me any longer. So when you started, what came first? Was it agency performance partners, agency appeal?
Yeah, it was agency performance partners came first, and then agency appeal came about a year later. And the rest is kind of history from that point. But it'll be 6 years this June on agency performance partners. So it's gone by so fast, but it's gone, like some days I'm like, time is going so slow and so fast that there's no middle ground anymore. I don't know if you feel that way. It's like, I know we're shooting this, it's March 1st, like 2 months of 2020 are gone.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Christmas was yesterday.
I know. I feel the same way. It is this weird thing. And I have this conversation with people all the time, but I feel like it's the thing that is, it's like that thread of commonality between everybody where you're like, I want time to slow down, but I don't. And how do I really get my arms around it so I understand what the speed of time really is?
Well, then I remember being a kid and like waiting for my birthday and Christmas. Like I was like in the desert, like, like when will there be a birthday or Christmas? And now today I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I remember like on the agency side, we would have that big space and time between New Year's and Memorial Day where we're like, we're in a holiday drought. When is it going to be May? For one, winter is here and we want it to be over, but also we're ready for a 3-day weekend. So yeah, it's funny how what becomes a priority in our timelines.
It's kind of ridiculous. And I don't know. It's like I get excited to wake up every day and go to work, and weeks go by fast. And so I'm very blessed. I always think to like, I said this to one of my clients the other day, I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he's just like, how are you? And I'm like, you know what? I feel like in my whole life, I'm exactly where I need to be. Like I have the right husband. I have the right like job. Like I'm like, there's no part of my life that feels like this wasn't meant for me, or that I'm like desolate or, discouraged by like feeling helpless. And I just know a lot of people that aren't in that situation. And I just thank my lucky stars, I guess, every day that it did happen the way it did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's a lot of value in understanding how you got there and being able, and not that your journey is going to be mimicked by somebody else. Like nobody's going to follow your exact path. You didn't create a formula on your way. You had some struggles and some lessons that you would have rather not learned. I mean, I can count of, I can name off 5, really quickly, as I've moved through my career. But it's, how do we help people understand, like, when things are not okay, like you're not feeling like you're in the right place, this is not the career for you any longer, like it's okay to search.
Yeah. And I think that you have to realize that's your responsibility. That's not your employer's.
Right.
Like, when I jumped off on my own, it wasn't right anymore. Like,
Right.
but I wasn't going to let myself get mad, upset, angry. I wasn't going to not perform because I was not in the right place. I had to figure out what that next step looked like. Because I knew staying there I was going to become bitter, and I didn't want that for my life. And it was scary to think about something different. And I wish it was different because I'd probably still be there today. But God gave me a little slap and said, "You got to go do something else now, kiddo." Yeah. And I think that that's that whole having confidence in yourself thing too, of like, hey, it's okay to go look. You might find a better opportunity. You might find something crazier. You might find something 10 minutes farther down the road that's just a better fit for you. But your personal happiness is not worth it. Coming home frustrated every day is not any way to live your life.
Yeah. And I think that it can be tough. You feel like you owe something, right? Like this person, like, and that was something that I struggled with, I guess. I'm speaking in generalities, but that was something that I struggled with. It was like, they've given me so much in 15 years. How do I walk away from that? Because I feel like I owe them the last 15 years of my life and maybe the next 15. I don't know. And so kind of getting out of that space where I was like, no, I owe more to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And owning that and realizing that I was going to have to seek out opportunity.
Right.
Which I did and I didn't. But yeah.
Well, I think it's also like what you said, like you owe so much to them, but you gave so much too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, an employment situation, and we preach this to people all the time, like it's not family. Like they pay you to do a good job. And if you're doing a good job and you got good reviews, you contributed back into that society and you got a lot out of it. And everything in life has a season. I actually kind of giggle sometimes. Agents here be like, so-and-so quit today. And I go, did you think that they would work for you for the rest of your life? Like, we're not in that society anymore. And honestly, you probably don't want someone who's worked for you for 40 years at some point. So I don't know. I look at it like, if the business is doing right, people stay longer. And when it's not right, and why is it different? Here's a great question. Like, why is it different if, say, you were going to be a stay-at-home mom, then you go find another career?
Right.
Like, everyone's so happy for it. You're going to go home and the kids say, have a nice day. But you go find something that makes you happy, that you can still contribute to the same industry. And everyone's like, I can't believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a weird thing. Yeah.
And so I think like some of that stuff's got to be kind of just saying, hey, you know what, if you're doing it right, your business should not be centered around a person. It should be about a greater good, a team, a philosophy, should be processes and procedures. So not that you could replace and just plug and play and have a nice day, but one person you shouldn't take it personally. In fact, you should just say, hey, they gave you some tuition and we move on.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that I wish we just did better in general. And in any industry, is just really looking at career pathing and understanding, like, career pathing doesn't mean you move up in this company. It could mean a lot of different things. And you need to be aware of what you want in your life and be okay with, like, there has to be some detachment there from the company that you work at, or even the people that you work with. I was raised by a great company. They took good care of me. I have wonderful people that I got to spend 15 years of my life with. Like, I was really, really lucky, but there was a point where it was like, there's more to me than what I'm able to do in this place right now. And so, yeah, it took a long time for me to even accept that was something that, or even acknowledge it. Like, I was pretty happy to just stuff it down for a while. So how long did you wait? Once you decided that you were ready to make a move, like, how long did you wait?
So I'm going to preface this with something that, I don't know, like every week, this one line keeps creeping up into my head, which is, people or companies tell you who they are. You just have to listen. Right. So like, I don't know. I think it was like February. And in my head, I was like, all right, I got to get my husband on board, who's like, play it safe. He's like, you're leaving a 6-figure job, 100% health insurance. Why again?
Yeah.
And then I had to get myself in order, and we had to look at the finances. And, I just, at this point, like, he just knew I was not happy. And he's like, I believe in you and I trust you, and I'm just going to put it in your hands, and I'm not going to worry about it. Because that's also stressful. Like, now every day after that, like for the first year, he'd come home, did you sell anything today? Did you sell anything? It's like the world's greatest sales coach is your husband coming home every day when you're self-employed asking, did you sell anything today? And so I went and I talked to, at that point, my manager, who, he was one of the biggest reasons I was looking to depart. Like, we weren't on the same page, and it was not going to be fixed. He was just very bad character, in my personal opinion. And so I went to him and I told him, and I had an appointment with him, and he was a half hour late because he was playing ping pong. Yeah, I was like, so
wow.
like, cool, great, awesome. I'll just sit in your office for a half hour.
Yeah.
And he's like, people tell you who they are, they just have to listen, right? So I told him, and I was like, I'm not happy. I was on the road a lot. I was like, this just isn't for me anymore. And, he offered me a huge demotion that he said he'd have to try to work on. I was like, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I want to let you know, and I want to work this out professionally, whether that means I leave and we work on a transition, or, like, I want to work it out professionally. And I was on the road. He didn't contact me for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, people tell you who they are, you just have to listen. I was like, I mean, that was every sign that I needed to say, yep, this isn't the place for you any longer.
Yeah. Wow. So it really didn't take long for you to really start figuring out that it was time to
it
do
was
something.
February to June. Like, that was the transition period. Yeah. And by, I'd say, I don't know, April, like, he had departed, and I was now back in negotiations with the CEO, and he was supportive, and he said, I get it, and we're going to go under some changes. So you're actually kind of doing us a favor. Let's do this the right way. And we did it the right way. And, that was that. But I don't know. Sometimes the world gives you these big signs, Olivia, I think. And like, we just have to keep our eyes open to say, hey, you've got to listen, and don't try to change people. Like, people tell you who they are.
Yeah.
Like, just listen, like, if you stop trying to change people or situations, and you just realize that this is not my season, I got to keep moving.
Yeah. And it's exhausting if that's what you're getting up and doing every day. Like, it's not long-term. You can only sustain that kind of lifestyle for so long.
Yeah. And I think like, I did a lot of self-reflection, as I'm sure you did. We're like, well, how could I do something different? Maybe it's me. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to come in with a smile. I'm going to sell more than everybody else on the team and show I'm a top performer. And I do all those things, and it still just wasn't working out. So I think, if anything, I would tell you say what you would tell your younger self. I'd say, don't wait. Like, honestly, if I had done it 6 months earlier, I'm very blessed the way everything worked out, but I still always wonder, I'm like, had I done it the day, when I really had put my head into the game, knowing it wasn't going to work out, would things be even better?
Right. So yeah, I think there's always that little bit of like timidity and hesitation that you go through, and self-doubt and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's great advice. Don't wait.
I want it to work. Like, I wanted it to go back to the way it was, right? Like, I didn't want to have to take this risk. But like I said, like, the world just kept showing me that was the way, and just, and then also, like, what was the worst thing that happened? Right? Like, I failed miserably, flat on my face, and my husband's like, and you'll go work at an agency.
Yeah. So yeah, but you didn't. you
I
have
did.
this thriving, successful business, and you're just, helping the independent agent force just become better and stronger, which is a pretty amazing thing.
We're trying. I mean, there's just, I think like, and I'm curious to hear what's your opinion, like your answer to this question, but like people always say like, what's your superpower? And like, I'm more convinced than ever my superpower is being able to believe in people of what they can do when they can't. And like, if I can believe that you can call every renewal, if I can believe that you can get to a certain sales goal, if I can believe that you can operate with zero backlog, if I can believe for you, then there's no reason why you can't believe that you could do it.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great superpower.
What's your superpower?
I know. I feel like I ask people questions and I'm like, I have no answers to these questions.
I bet you do. You just might need some time.
Yeah. I feel like I'm bragging when I talk about my super. Isn't that horrible? I have to stop doing this. I have to stop doing these minimizing thought process.
Talk about all your non-superpowers.
Yes, they're all coming out right now. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just feel like I always lead with heart, which maybe sometimes gets me in trouble, but I just always feel like it's compassion first, and we'll figure out the rest of it. I'm very emotionally motivated by things that I do. I'm not always the super logical thinker, and sometimes that probably works against me, but I feel like it's also leading with heart, having that sense of compassion before other things kick in has allowed me to really connect with a lot of people. And so yeah, that's what I've got.
I think your superpower is you always make whoever you're around feel like they're the most important thing in the room.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna make a list of all the nice things that people say about me, and I'm gonna read those things on my bad days.
Oh no! Wait till you start public speaking and like they introduce you on a stage and they're reading this like paragraph of like gratitude statements that somebody has created for you about your bio, and you're just sitting there like, who's that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Do you ever cry when you hear them? I would probably.
I just get really uncomfortable because like, they're like on the stage and it's like, Kelly Donahue-Piro is a game changer. And I'm like, who created that?
Yeah. You're like, really?
Like,
me?
It's the writer on the team, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Well.
And like literally before I probably had like toothpaste on my shirt. Like, like something so absolutely ridiculous. You know, like I'm always like, I don't really, it's like,
there's definitely a deodorant smudge on this shirt, but I'm glad that I'm a game changer in the industry.
Listen, my new thing is, and I'm probably going to start it. I don't know if I'll do it this week or next week, but like every week I'm going to post something completely unperfect on social media. Like, because I just get a little tired of the whole like, everybody's beautiful and look at our breakfast board and, like we're all in Aruba tan. And like literally I sat in bed and watched like The Bachelor for 4 hours yesterday, like
good for you.
So I've decided I'm just going to embrace it and just put like one, like just totally ridiculous. Like I'm a complete and utter normal human.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great.
I might throw a challenge down, be like, who else wants to post their normal human moments?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for just giving ourselves permission to be real about who we are, the things that we do great, and the things that are maybe, need a little improvement. Yeah.
My ability to get toothpaste in my face.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I swear there was some in my mouth. We do give a lot of credit to the highlight reel, and I think that's amazing because I think it's encouraging to people, but also like sharing our stumbling blocks and how we overcame those things. There's so much power in that. And so I look forward to your imperfect Kelly post.
I might tag you and say pay it forward.
Oh, I like it. I'll bite. I promise. Because I wake up like a hot mess every single morning. This takes a lot of work.
Let me tell you, man, it's just, and the older I get, the more I don't care as much. Not like I'm like letting it all, but I'm just like, hey, you know what? I fly home from places looking homeless. Like, one thing, I don't want people talking to me. Like, I'm just so done by that point. So it's like, I look totally disheveled. No one will want to speak to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you
So,
see me in an airport and I'm looking homeless, just kind of wave.
yeah. So I know we're at our time here,
Yeah.
but I'm going to ask you one more question. If you could give one piece of advice to a woman in the industry, any capacity, struggling to just kind of find her place, what would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say stop telling yourself a story of things that you don't think you're comfortable with. Like, oh, I'm not a salesperson, or, I'm not that. I'm not, stop telling yourself a story and just go at it unbridled and try without having any apprehension or fear. Like, because you might find something that you just didn't think you were great at, but ends up being your superpower, like, don't just, like, maybe it's uncomfortable, but who cares? Try it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
And so don't resist so hard on things that are uncomfortable. In fact, just embrace them for 30 days and see at the end if you feel differently. And believe in yourself, like, believe that there's an option out there that's a great fit for you. Because once you get into insurance, it's like the mob, you're never going to get out. Like,
It's true.
You're never going to let your license lapse. You're going to be insurance for the rest of your life. So you got to really figure out what makes the most sense and understand, is it your personal life that's sort of, holding you back from that? Or is it your professional life? Because sometimes I think they really do go hand in hand. And if things aren't right at home, it's really hard to be happy at your job.
Right.
And right at your job, it's really hard to be happy at home. So, that was what my podcast was a little bit about too. It's just, you have to sort of throw the boundaries up a tad bit and say, I'm still a professional. I'm going to treat this like a professional position, even when things aren't going great at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love it. I think it's great advice, and anybody could apply that to their life and their career.
No doubt.
I am so thankful for you coming on the show. Thank you so much for your time and sharing a little bit of your life with us. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in Nashville or wherever our paths
Researching karaoke bars.
Karaoke and line dancing. Here we come. You got your cowboy boots?
No, I don't have any cowboy boots. I know. This might be something I have to investigate while I'm in Nashville.
I'll help you shop.
We'll go on. Well, that's what we'll do. We'll go shopping and then karaoke. And do you know the amount of cocktails we're going to have to make that happen?
Well, I'm down. I'm down to try.
There you go. No, I'm excited for your podcast, and we'll definitely help promote it on our channels as well.
Yes.
I think it's exciting. And if you ever need any recommended guests, please let me know.
I will. Thank you so much.